The time is 6:05 p.m. and we're going to call our reorganizational meeting to order. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones and let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. We're going to begin with a few oaths of office. Sure.
Okay, here's your oath. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of Superintendent of Schools
of Superintendent of Schools
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. Thank you, sir. Okay. Repeat after me. Raise your right hand, it'll be fun. Thank you. No one told me to. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of District Clerk
the duties of the office of District Clerk
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. I think I forgot that.
Dan, you want to join me up here? Please raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of school board member
the duties of the office of school board member
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Thank you. Here you go. You get to sign it. Oh, that's right. Thank you. And Melanie? Please raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of school board member
the duties of the office of school board member
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And we did want the public to know that Mr. Miller, who was our third candidate to be sworn in tonight, is unfortunately very ill and could not be at the meeting tonight. He's not sandbagging. He really wanted to be here, and there's a lot of organizing trying to get him here, but he'll be sworn in at our next meeting.
At some time, you have to sign the rest of those.
Before we begin the nomination process, I wanted to go through the process with everybody as per Robert's rules. So, and certainly, if there's any questions, we can stop and ask questions along the way. So as we seek to nominate people for the role of Vice President and President of the Board, a member can call out the name of any nominee. A person can nominate themselves. A nomination does not need a second. A member can be nominated for more than one office. A member can't nominate more than one person for an office until everyone has had the opportunity to make nominations. Nominees do not have to leave the room during the nominations. when the vote is taken or when the vote is counted. A member can decline the nomination during the nomination process. After each nomination, I will repeat the name of the nominee and the position in which they have been nominated. For example, Jane Winkler for president. Are there any further nominations for president? When there appear to be no further nominations presented by the group, I will ask for a motion to close nominations for that particular office. Nominations must be closed by a 2/3 majority vote. If more than one person has been nominated for any position, I will call out the candidates in the order in which they were nominated. Each board member will only get one aye vote during the voting process. The first candidate must receive a majority of aye votes to win. Therefore, if the first candidate receives a majority vote, there will be no voting for the second candidate. Any questions? Okay. I'd like to call for nominations from the floor for the position of board president. All right. Mike Deo for president. Are there any further nominations for president?
Move to close nominations.
Thanks for speeding.
What?
Thanks for speeding us up.
Yeah.
Okay. Second to close nominations? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Okay. All in favor of Mike Deo for president, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations. Raising hand is important, so thank you for doing that. The ayes have it. Mike Deo is elected board president. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, that part.
We gotta get this PA's fixed. I know, he's been telling us 6 months he's been working on it. Played in a rock and roll band when I was a kid. Okay,
Please raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of school board president
the duties of the office of School Board President
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. All right, you can sign that, Mike? Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike. I'd like to call for nominations from the floor for the position of board vice president.
I nominate Ed Beninati.
Ed Beninati for board vice president. Are there further nominations for vice president?
move to close.
All right, a second to close the nominations. Jenny, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, all of those in favor of Ed Beninati for vice president, say aye and please raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous. All those, oh, we did that, thank you. So the ayes have it, and Ed Beninati is elected board vice president.
All right.
I know, I already went up and grabbed a second more.
Raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of school board vice president
the duties of the office of School Board Vice President
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. gavel is yours, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. So moving into 4.1, appointment of officers. We have 5 items. Is there a motion for one or more of those items under 4.1? For all?
For all, sorry.
Motion for all.
I'll second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5.1, other appointments and designations. We have 60 items. Is there a motion for one or more under 5.1?
I motion for all.
Thank you, Jenny. Second? Melanie, any discussion?
I just wanted to make note that the first position on there is for the coordinator of continuing ed. The reason that it's blank is that interviews will be happening in the next week. So we expect at the August 7th meeting to have an appointment for that.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, there's 2 other items regarding dates for the budget hearing and the budget vote, and the, for the district, and also the budget vote for BOCES. Is there a motion for one or both?
I motion for both.
Okay, second?
Second.
Right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion to adjourn the reorganizational meeting?
So move.
Mike, second. Jackie? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. The reorganizational meeting is adjourned. We will now immediately transition into a regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education, which I'll call to order at 6:17 p.m. on July 10th. Sue, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the June 12th Board of Education meeting? Jenny, thank you. Second? Melanie, do we have any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving into business considerations, 6.1 through 6.34. Motion for one or all? Thank you, Jenny. Second? Jackie?
I do have questions, though.
Okay. Just before we open this up for discussion, I just want to note a few donations that we are in receipt of this evening. One from the middle school PTO, one in memory of George Segru, and also it looks like we have a musical organ that's been donated to the music program at the school. So thank you very much to those donors. We'll open up for discussion. Jenny?
For 6.1, I've asked this before, and I guess I don't know that I really feel the answer. Why is there such a delay in approving these? The dates on these IEP meetings are the February 26th to July 2nd. Oh, goody.
So those are annual review meetings. We start meetings the end of February. They're not approved by the board and in place until either July or September. So we're usually running meetings 4 days a week and multiple meetings a day. So it takes time for follow-up after that and to finalize those meetings. So that's why there's a range of, so the IEPs that you're approving are not until the start of September.
Great, thank you.
24, 25. Yep, thank you.
Perfect.
Anything else, Jenny?
Yeah. On 6.3 for the internal audit, sorry, let me pull it up because it would be easier if I'm looking at it. In the category where it says exception or resolution, most of them have resolutions, but there's a few. When it says exception and there's none, does that mean there was nothing wrong with it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I feel like I should have known that by now, so sorry about that. And then for 6.8, the consultant agreement, is this just for teachers who have newly started?
This is a consultant that is going to be working with our current tenured teachers who want to be mentors or who have been mentors so that they can fulfill that role with some updated information.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then for 624 for the contract, what service is this individual providing that we aren't receiving the service through the other places we contract our own employees? She says a licensed speech pathologist or certified speech language specialist associated with will provide speech language services to the district. Bilingual? Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you. And then for 633, we're just backdating it because we didn't approve it earlier on. Okay, that's it. That's all my questions. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'd just like to mention, I'm really happy that the seeker agreements were all taken care of and are moving forward, that process is, because I've been involved in government for a long time, and I know how miserable seeker can be. So I'm very happy that we've got it past where we got it.
Yeah, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, personnel considerations 7-1 through 747. Is there a motion?
Oh,
Okay. Second? Jackie? Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
aye.
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 All right, Dr. Bailey, we're going to turn to you.
As you know, because we sent an email, Sue sent an email to the board asking about a potential special board meeting for July 31st. Since we were approved for our project, we put the bids out on the street. We expect those bids back about the beginning of the third week in July. So we'll have a few days to review the bids and clear up any questions about some of the bids that have been offered, because we never want to accept a bid like for one that's unusually low. Sometimes people miss something in the bid process and they bid for something that they didn't intend to. But by July 1, we feel as though we'll have cleared those things up, and having a special board meeting to approve them, we'll have to expedite that. They'll agree to work with us. We're going to provide an update on the timing for construction at the next meeting. If you saw any of the proposed bid timelines, because of where we are, we've talked before, without approval happening in January, February, March, it's almost an impossibility for a school district to be able to bid, get good value for the dollars we're spending, and to get the best workers, the best companies. So many of the things that we had hoped to begin this year will begin either during breaks during this coming school year or in the summer of '25. But we will give you a full update on what we expect to see happen. And I think Sue mentioned last time that we have a quorum. It looks like we have a quorum for the 31st at this juncture. It would just be two things: approving the bids and whatever personnel we've hired in the meantime.
Tax rate.
Oh, and the tax rate. Thank you.
The tax. You guys need to approve the new tax rates for the tax bills.
Discovery Camp and our Apex Credit Recovery. Discovery Camp grades 1 through 8, and the Apex Recovery Program at the high school started this week, and Jean will talk a little bit more about that. Amazing. Kids are in good spirits for coming back to school in 85-degree weather 2 weeks into summer, but they were so energized about the work they were going to do this summer. And I know that you'll be hearing more about that, and you'll get a report out at the end of the summer. And lastly, the rebranding. You will see, when we come back in the fall, you will very clear awareness that we are the Ravens. And there's a few things that we're doing to accomplish that. We know that some of the larger scale, substantial things we've talked about, the center of the stadium, the center of the court and the main gym, those are large scale things that we will wait until as late as possible to do. We want to get our full life expectancy out of those before we do anything. But there'll be other things that we will be changing, and on August 7th, I'll be able to give you a more detailed explanation of what that is, so that we can look forward to it. And we'll be working on advertising those things through our PR with the community as well. Okay? Yeah.
On the rebranding, do the sports teams for the fall have permission to use the logos?
Yeah, they go through the athletic director and absolutely. I think because I talked to Jen before the last meeting, we purchased, I believe, for all 3 of the football teams this year, one of our largest financial obligations. So theirs are branded this year with new branding. The other teams will, as we start to order over the next few years, will also have that. But if the sports association or someone else is purchasing things, they can absolutely, we developed this application so that they can apply through the coach and through Jen, and we send it right to the vendor so that the vendor can, use the logos.
Okay, and what about graphics as far as these coaches are trying to build schedules and get word out to the community when their games are, things like that? I've been approached by a couple of coaches who have concerns that they don't yet have the ability to put the graphics on the things. Is there a way that those specific coaches who are doing it for the sports teams, we have a lot of talented community members, that they could have those graphics?
Well, only one coach has approached me, and we resolved the one issue. Well, I don't know who else is out there, but please ask them to, have them come to me.
Haven't.
Yeah, the other thing is, coaches shouldn't be ordering anything, it's the.
No, not ordering, designing.
Oh,
For
understood.
their own
Sure.
graphics that are being put out by the team.
Gotcha.
So, like, Facebook pages are being made for parents. Things like that, and then announcements of, they like to have that kind of stuff. And we are very lucky that we have a couple of really talented individuals who are willing to make stuff like that for us. We should be encouraging them to be
What
able
would you
to
say
do
for parents, Mel? I missed the word. What are they giving to parents?
talented.
I still don't understand it.
Talented.
Calendars, okay, yes.
Talented. We have talented parents and community members.
I thought you said we're giving talented to parents, I got confused. Sorry.
We have talented parents and community members who are willing to make, I don't know if you've seen the celebratory graphics for after games and stuff. Those are
Absolutely.
important things for those individuals. Yeah,
For when the varsity games are for the different
or
sports.
fundraising has started.
Absolutely. Have
All
the-
of those things.
Ask the coach will ask the AD, and we'll make sure they get it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What we're trying to do is, it's ours. It's ours. It's our school districts, and we don't want everybody in the universe printing stuff with our name on it, because we don't know what they're going to put it on. But we're absolutely supportive of ensuring that the community is saturated
That's-
with our, we want
I
everything.
feel like the feeling in the community, I am the liaison in a lot of ways to a lot of community groups, and the community is feeling like it's all the schools, and the community as a whole needs to buy into this new logo and the new
And if they
name
want to
everything.
support it, they need to have access to being able to
Right.
create it.
Right.
Whether it's through a vendor or to put on those types of things that you're mentioning.
Yeah, the official stuff obviously will go through the school, but for the, Wahoos and all that, they need to be able to have that, so. All right. I told them I would speak on their behalf
can come to me
tonight,
too and
so-
ask me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I do have one question about the uniforms. You said that all the football ones, are the logos on all of the uniforms? Like, my daughter played soccer for 2 years and there was no logo, it just said RCS. Is
Is there
there
a
an
logo
age
on
at
the-
which, the logo appears on teams other than football?
No, this is because of the cycle of uniform purchases, and this fall of '24 is the first time that we're officially the Ravens, their uniforms were purchased this year, so theirs will have it.
Right, but
the
what
others-
other sports have a logo on it? Because my daughter played modified soccer for 2
They'll
years, there's
say
no logo.
RCS, or they say the team sport, they say RCS on them right now. That's what we did in the interim when we knew the state was going to tell us we couldn't do it anymore. Because based on the replacement plan, we wanted to make sure we didn't have to throw uniforms out when we hit, a certain terminal point. So the other teams don't have a Ravens logo, but they say RCS on them.
Just the football does.
No,
When the new ones are ordered, the
Correct.
new
the
ones.
new
meant
ones,
that.
they were
If-
very cognizant of,
I meant in general, though, when children reach the varsity level, is the logo on all the varsity uniforms or just football? I don't care what the answer is, I'm just curious.
As we replace uniforms in the cycle, they'll all have the logos on them.
they used to all have the old
Okay.
logos, but in the meantime, they put RCS just to make
Fair. Yeah.
bridging the gap.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, we're not just giving it to football.
Well, I just didn't know at what, my children are younger, so I didn't know at what my
Right.
logos appeared on uniforms, because they've only played travel and Pop Warner, so.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
So yes, Discovery Camp. Discovery Camp, and Apex started this week. Today was Apex's first day. I didn't get over, we had a leadership meeting. But Discovery Camp has 18 classrooms, about 240 students. So we're talking about 18 teachers, 18 counselors, which are support staff in the rooms. And this year, we also have 17 town youth employees that are coming in and working in the classrooms as well. In addition to Discovery Camp, we also brought extended school year for students with disabilities back to the district. So we have 4 classrooms also happening with about 27 students. And then for Apex at the high school for credit recovery, we have just under 40 students who are coming for that. So we'll have some updates as far as their progress. But it really did get off to a good start, and I have to give them all credit. The second day, we didn't have internet, and everyone's face when they walked in and saw the sign on the door, they kind of nodded and went in, because I think they've lived long enough here to know that that happens from time to time. But I don't have time to name all the folks who have been involved in all of the work in order to prepare for those programs, the folks who are there now working with the kids and making sure that things run smoothly. I just can't thank them enough. It really is, it's a lot of work, and people come together to do that. The other thing I just wanted to give you an update on is our pre-K numbers. So we have 2 students on the waiting list for A.W. Becker. We have 7 students enrolled at Circle of Friends, and there are currently 4 spots at Peter B. So we'll keep monitoring that as well. The 2 students who are on the waiting list have been called and contacted and said that they can attend Circle of Friends if that's something they're interested in. We have 8 spots there.
Are they willing to over-enroll by 1? Because you said we have 7 at Circle of Friends.
No. We
So you have space for 1.
Yes, our contract is, yep. One of the other students is possibly being evaluated and may not be appropriate for that a regular UPK spot. The other thing that I had in my updates for the board and for the public is, under informational items in the board agenda is the code of conduct, the updated code of conduct. So I wanted just to talk a little bit about some of the outcomes from the Code of Conduct Subcommittee and what you might want to pay attention to in the updates. So the first thing is there are action plans that are linked in my presentation that are by level: elementary, middle school, high school, and district level. And I entitled it data-driven action plans because they really evolved out of our original subcommittee that took a close look at the data dashboard and some of the trends that we noticed and questions that we raised, and brought that information back to building leadership teams around how might we address some of these needs. And then the teams built out action steps that would include immediate in the next couple of, well, at that time, from now until the end of the year through the summer, what would happen in this next year that they want to take action on, and then longer term, what we want to aim for over the next 3 years. And what I found was really helpful, and you can take a closer look at those levels, and it still says draft on it because I do think that when you're working and projecting out, you want to think about and be responsive to how things are going as you are implementing some of those action steps. But the process of a smaller subcommittee working through that and then going back to the BLTs to get feedback, bringing it back, really helped kind of get stakeholder input throughout the process and really helped refine those action plans. The other thing that's going to be happening over the next couple of weeks and through the summer is the principals taking a closer look at their draft targets and action plans for next year and seeing where some of those code of conduct actions really fit in the plans that they have for the building. So we'll have an opportunity to take a look at that. When do we do? Beginning of the year with the targets and action plans? So then the other thing that I wanted just to draw your attention to is where you can look for the changes in the code of conduct. We really focused on the behavior chart, which and it's linked, the PDF is linked into both the board agenda and it's also on the website. So if you're looking, you just want to kind of focus on pages 21 through 26. That's where that behavior chart is. And I included just a summary of the updates that helped you understand what was in the original 2021 version, what we updated, and our brief rationale for why we made some of these changes. And again, I have to really compliment the Code of Conduct Committee for being thoughtful about this and really engaging in dialogue around what it meant at each level and really landing on how we can maintain a pre-K through 12 code of conduct, but still address the needs at all levels based on the language here. So it goes from everything from just some slight language changes about communication. It includes some changes to the levels that a particular behavior might be reflected at. So in some cases, we added a level 4 for something that was a level 2, a level 3, and a level 4. And thinking about how we address some of the things that happen at the elementary level, that one of the big topics that we talked about during the Code of Conduct was in our language it says physical attack, and that is a really hard thing. And we noticed when we were looking at the data dashboard that the elementary has a lot of that. And when you see the words physical attack, it really seems like something that is, I don't know, even it has an image, it connotates some violence. So we wanted to make sure that we address that in the behavior charts and be able to say, you know, pushing, shoving, those physical altercations are different than a physical attack. So if anyone has any questions, you're welcome to reach out about that, but that'll be out in the public for review and comment. Any folks in the community that want to send feedback or questions, my email is listed on the website as well so that they can do that. So we'll be looking to have the board adopt those changes at the August meeting, August 7th.
If we have additional comments and questions, should we also email you?
Yep. And I do want to also say, like, it seemed like I think we met between the two subcommittees, I think 6 or 7 times. And this seems like, when I looked at the summary of updates, I thought, well, it really doesn't look like much. But I do think, and I said this to the committee, the small changes that you can make can really make a great impact. And we did want to do some work also around the policies that are linked in the Code of Conduct, because they're all over. So we know that we will be bringing the subcommittee back together, whether the original folks or some new folks that want to join, to take a look at once those policies are updated and what language might need to change to reflect some of the changes, what changes might happen in those policies. So I know it's been several years since we've done a revision on this Code of Conduct, but just know that it is on my radar to bring this committee back together.
That you might get, can you also share that with all of us?
I'm sorry?
If you get any other feedback
Yes,
from
yep.
community members and whatnot, you'll share that
Yep.
with us as well.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely.
And where can they find?
It's on the website, and it's also linked right here in the board agenda.
Yes, okay, but for the community at large?
Yes, it's on the website also, yep.
One thing that's absent from that is what we were trying to do was get a definitions onto the website, but the reason that we're not able to do that at this time is we've been working with NISBA trying to get their policies, and there's different terms and things may change, so we didn't want to post them and then have to repost them. So eventually, when Jean said there'd be some changes working around policy, there'll be definitions at some point as well.
I had one question about the information you shared about bringing the special education classes back into the school. Is that at each level or at one set level?
It's K-12.
So we have fulfilled our whole obligations for summer school within
I
district?
do believe
or-
there are a handful of students who are still in outside placements for extended school year they have.
That they would have been in
Yes,
anyways?
yes,
Okay,
yep.
that's reasonable. Okay, that's great.
And that's all I have, unless there's other questions.
No, thanks, Jean.
Thank you.
Jesse?
First off, I wanted to give you guys an update on the security assessment. You asked me to go back out and find some other companies to do a follow-up assessment, security assessment. So I asked some of my other colleagues who they've used, and 2 of them stood out. So we have Crane Security Group and Armor One is the 2 different companies that some of the other districts have used. We're going to go, I'm still waiting on some quotes But once we receive those, we'll get that those information to the Health and Safety Committee, the Health and Safety Committee, and we can go through those a little bit detailed, because I think the armor one's a little bit, it's more expensive, but it's a little bit more comprehensive. So we'll definitely have to dive into those a little bit more. As for projects, there's a lot of things going on around here. First, the Peter B. playground is installed, the main structure is installed, and the rubber base underneath it is also installed, and I believe the chips are going in today, so we should be able to play with that tomorrow. If they're not finished today, they will be the next day. So those kids will be able to get onto that playground soon. Also, the additional drainage is complete for that too. When we were replacing the drainage there, we did notice some of the swings on that playground are starting to deteriorate, so we are asking our contractor to look into the cost of replacing those as well. But that will be later on.
Unsafe?
They're not unsafe at the time, but they are deteriorating, so we want to replace them before they become unsafe.
Is it just like the actual swings themselves or the structure?
The structure.
It's the structure
The
that's the
structures,
problem.
yeah. Yep,
Okay.
yep. If it becomes.
So the whole thing needs to
If
be
it becomes unsafe, we'll obviously remove them.
Okay.
Who assesses their safety level? Like, is that building and ground?
Yeah, building and grounds, they do weekly walkthroughs of the equipment. A.W. Becker Pre-K playground design has been completed, and we should be receiving that soon, and that will be presented to the playground committee later this summer. The 2 light poles that need to be replaced at Peter B. have been replaced. That's completed. And we're targeting to replace the remaining poles there with a $100,000 capital project. We're trying to do that for the 25-26 school year. Tennis courts have been resealed. Well, they will be resealed by the end of July. The elementary gym walls in both the mats on the gym walls in both elementary schools will be replaced in late summer or early fall. Gym floors were sealed at the high school and A.W. Becker. Middle school is actually, we're sanding it all the way down, and we're going to be repainting everything and refinished. Middle school camera project will begin in end of July and hopefully be ready to go by the beginning of school. And then, as Dr. Bailey mentioned, our $15 million project was approved. Bill Schramm, our Director of Building Grounds, myself, have been in touch with our construction manager, and they said they are getting a lot of interest in these. So we're very excited about that. We're looking forward to getting a lot of bids in on July 24th. And then, again, bringing the ones that have been accepted for you guys on July 31st. Any questions? Yeah.
The old playground up here, will that stay or will that go?
So everything that we plan to get rid of has been taken out.
Okay.
So the stuff that it remains is still going to be remaining.
I did see the new one, it looks
Yep.
really nice.
Yeah.
The older one, the ground looked a little rough.
Right.
And I wasn't sure if we were gonna take it out because of the new one, or if we were gonna help improve
So
that.
the committee at Peter B. Playground Committee, actually, we discussed which ones like the kids actually use, and we said, hey, this is the one that's unsafe that needs to go. So that was the big structure. And then I believe it was like the one where you slide, I think we were seeing that fall apart a lot too, so we took that out. But everything else, the committee said that the students are still using a lot, the swings are using a lot, so they decided to keep those.
So kudos to the raised pad,
Yeah.
because of the wet issues there, so.
Yeah, and the additional draining in there will help significantly.
Whosever idea that was, it's a great idea.
Yeah, and hopefully down the line, it is quite a bit expensive, so we only did it underneath the main structure there, but down the line, we like to do the whole area eventually.
Looks nice.
I have a question. The cameras at the middle school, are any going in on the stairwells?
Yeah, so they're gonna do walkthroughs if they haven't done already and give us recommendations on where things should be. Obviously, they'll be talking to the principals and other people if there's areas of weak spots. It's the same company that we've done with both the elementary schools. So yeah, absolutely.
Where do things stand with the bus GPS app?
So we are kind of, because of the new director, a little bit behind. Our goal is still to have it up and in place by the beginning of the school year. We're definitely a little bit behind where I would like. I would like to see it start being implemented during Discovery Camp so we can kind of have a test run. We did have the geo-tracking up for a short period of time where select individuals were able to use it, and I did see it, and it worked great. But we didn't want to put it out to the masses until we got all the bugs out.
Sure.
But yeah, we are a little bit behind, and we still hope to have that up by the beginning of the school year.
Okay.
So what company did we go through for that?
So we, TransFinder that's the company that we use for like our software system, but Zonar is our GPS system. So right now the tablets that we have with Zonar we're struggling a little bit, understanding why some of the things aren't working. So that's where we are right now.
And just one other quick question. You had mentioned redoing the gym floor. I think resealing it, refinishing it. So in terms of all the work that has to be done for the logo replacement, sanding and redoing the gym floor, the football field, the pool, all that stuff, do we have a plan in place? Okay.
We have a timeline for that, and we know that, like I said, we're trying to extend the use of all of the larger scale things to the end of their life expectancy. We say a turf field is 8 to 10 years and will be at 8 years in next year. We say that a basketball court is a certain number of years before it needs to be sanded down. In this particular cycle, we resealed it, we didn't sand it. But, and I think that we're probably within 2 years of the high school court needing that. So that would allow us to do we did ask, you can't sand a portion of it, put something down and then, reseal it, unfortunately. But if we deem it to be a hardship, if like we are unable to pass the construction project or referendum in order to do the larger scale stuff, we can ask for, if it looks like we're making progress, we have a plan in force, and we are going to do things in earnest, the state may grant us an extension for some of the larger scale things. But what I mentioned is like the football field, we're actually able to paint some of the items. We're able to paint over some of the things that we're not supposed to have anymore, which is a significantly less solution for the short term. We can't do anything about the basketball court. The bottom of the pool, Jesse and I are going to take care of it. But the middle school basketball court, the middle school gym is going to be the first one with our brand on it.
Okay.
I'm excited.
Is that what's occurring right now? You were mentioning?
That one's going to be sanded this summer.
So
But
we have
our
a plan somewhere with all these milestones for what we're going to tackle, and have we identified the funding source?
We have.
For each? Okay.
So I'll include that on August 7th as well.
Okay.
Those are the types of things we've been talking about in the rebranding committee. Because we also know what the large scale things are, and we know there's all kinds of little things, like people are walking around and say, oh, look, that corner of the sign out near 9W has something it's not supposed to have, or the scoreboards in the gym. It's small, but it's the wrong thing. So we've been collecting all these little nuanced things, all of the banners, all the student records and banners, all of those have the other branding on it. So we've got a list of all those things and potential expenditures and when we expect to do it and how we're going to pay. The idea is, again, is that we're, other than the large-scale construction items, resurfacing a turf field, that is $500,000 on the short side. It's just a life expectancy expenditure. Or redoing a track, it's a life expectancy. And I anticipate when we do the referendum, the track will be included in that. Our track is, you go out to the track, you can see that it's worn right now. Those things are things that would be on the taxpayer's burden, but everything else, that is all of the, we've got to do it because they told us to, where we don't want to have it in a referendum and we don't want to pay it with taxpayer dollars. We want to use either pilot monies from various projects or the Lafarge money, which is intended to beautify our campuses, so it's appropriate. But I'll share all of that on August 7th.
Okay, thanks. Anything else for Jesse?
Any update on the air conditioning issues in the art and music rooms in the elementary schools and where we are with that, since we're approaching the beginning of the school year faster than I'd like to think about?
So that, I kind of did a update last time when you weren't here, but,
Sorry.
so no, no need to apologize. So what we're gonna do is, we're going to fast track those items on the capital project. So once those bid comes in, we're mentioning to whoever the vendor is, we need these ASAP. They need to be done right away, so we can get those done.
Do we have an estimate on when that would happen? Like when
Not
that
until we
happens?
know who the vendor is and that kind of stuff. But we have mentioned to all the bidders that, hey, this is one of the goals we'd like to get done as soon as possible.
Okay.
And the others could wait.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
Question. We know that because we couldn't do some of the large-scale work this summer, we already, in the bid process, it breaks it up to say, starting in October, November, January, February, April. So they can start getting into buildings, do asbestos remediation, if that's what they need to do, to pull out some heat exchangers and prepare to put the new ones in, knowing that we get a little head start. That's our very first stop. So it's a matter of getting the equipment and installing theirs first.
And this is all stuff that we can do even though Discovery Camp is going on in Peterby. I don't know what happens in A.W. Becker, but I know Peterby at least has a Discovery Camp.
Yeah, I mean, we would have to obviously work around them, or a lot of it would be after hours.
Okay.
And I think truly, Jackie, what we're probably talking about is October, because we're going to be approving the bids, everything, order a thing. Especially the HVAC equipment, it requires a little bit of,
The biggest problem you're gonna run into is the time to get
supply chain
the
stuff.
equipment.
So do we have a plan for how we will make those rooms usable in some way at the beginning of the school year? Because as I understand it, most school years with how hot it is by the first week of school, they can't really use those classrooms because they are so hot. So, I mean, if it's not something that we can get done by the beginning of the school year, if we're not looking until October, obviously the heat is not really an issue in October, what do we have as a game plan for those classrooms? We've been talking about this for a year, so I just want to make sure that like we have some kind of game plan for those teachers to not be either kicked out of their classrooms and needing to find other space to do art and music or living in an oven.
we'll check on it, Jackie.
Okay, because I want to make sure there's some kind of plan in place, at least for ventilation or for giving them some other space to use, because, I mean, from what I understand, this has been going on for many, many years, that these teachers have been in these spaces that are unusable from the heat in both elementary schools. And those are classrooms that are used by every single student in the school. So this isn't a classroom that impacts only one, group of 15 kids. This impacts literally every elementary kid we have. So I want to see that there is something done to resolve this in some fashion by the beginning of the school year, because I'm sweating in this room, and this is not one of the rooms that's a problem.
And it's also not the hottest part of the
And,
day.
yeah, and it's not the hottest part of the day. And I'm not, 7, or trying to teach a classroom of 7-year-olds.
I did send an SOS out to Bill. He's looking into it.
Understood. I can manage for now, I don't want, a whole classroom of kids to need to manage this, the first week of school, you're gonna burn them right out. Or the alternative, as I understand it, is the teachers are trying to cart around a whole classroom worth of art supplies or music instruments or whatever they need to hold classes in some makeshift space for every class they have all day, which is very problematic. And also probably not in line with the IEPs of a couple of students in that school, in each of those schools. Because as I understand, there are students who have IEPs that require their classrooms to have air conditioning. And if they have to have it in that classroom, then presumably they should also have it in every other classroom that they need to be in.
I'll do
So
my
I appreciate
usual-
it being prioritized, but October feels like,
I'll do my usual
late.
follow-on to that I do every time. There's obvious issues there in those rooms, but second floor high school also, we need to get a handle on, even if it's just an assessment to identify, which rooms are the problems. I know there were some alarming temperature readings in some of the classrooms in the building in June. Much hotter than this room, so I can't imagine being there for
Much hotter.
a full day. But that's also
right?
a priority. questions for Jesse? Okay. I can't help but notice that we have an audience tonight. So welcome to everybody. I don't know if you've come here just for entertainment on a hot Wednesday evening, or if you've come here to provide public comments for any purpose whatsoever. Any non-agenda items fall under 14 on our agenda, which is coming up. If anybody did come here tonight to provide any public comment, just fill out, there are hearing and petition forms on the back table there. Just complete one of those and hand them to Sue Star, just so we know who wants to speak and we can get everybody an opportunity. And if nobody wishes to speak, that's fine too. Okay, moving to new business. Does anybody have any items?
It's been brought to my attention that the track and field equipment is still sitting out on the track. Is there a plan to move that in? I can't imagine that it's good for the life of it to continue living outside when track has been over for 2 months. The track and field equipment, I don't know exactly. Big pillows, I don't know, hurdles, like I don't know, I don't run ever. So I have no idea what track and field does. But it seems as though there's been enough time for it to be put away properly so that it doesn't meet the end of its expectancy sooner as opposed to later.
Actually, as a follow-up to that, in my coaches' discussions, do we have designated areas for storage of sports equipment for each team? Because as far as I know, there's like a little bit here and a little bit here and a little bit here, and you have to go hunting to find equipment sometimes. And they also noticed all of the stuff that's stored either outside under the bleachers. Is there any part of that plan that included any kind of storage?
As you know, storage in any school is hard. I don't know if there's designated areas. I can definitely find out. What I can say is our inventory clerk is looking into all areas to try to get rid of some of the out-of-date things that we have around here to add some additional storage. So he is working on that. Right now, his priority is to try to get all the supplies into the teachers as quickly as possible. But we are looking on trying to get more organized or better organized with our equipment and give more space to teams and other individuals in the buildings.
Okay.
Do you have anything to add to that, Jen? I mean, you are here, it makes sense to ask.
Yes.
Sorry to put you on the spot, but you're here.
No, that's okay. So as far as the track and field equipment, that's definitely on the O&M's list to put away throughout the summer. And I know they're very busy tackling a lot of projects, but I can follow up with Bill and his team, but it's on their list to put that all away. As far as designated storage areas, as Jesse said, we are a little bit limited on storage, but who isn't, especially with those bigger ticket items. So the teams do have their own designated storage area. I know that was a big priority when I first started here, was to really take time to do inventories and thoroughly look through everything and try to find equipment and do a better job with the storage that we have work with what we have in the district. So the teams do now have designated storage areas. We have a much better idea of what we have inventory-wise and what we are ordering moving forward. And I'm working with Joe as well to have a better inventory moving forward for our sports team. So it was a little bit disorganized, but it is getting better every single year, and especially during the summer. I spend a lot of time doing that to make sure we're utilizing our district funds to the best of our ability and knowing what we need and what we don't need to order and what we need to replace and things like that.
I know that helmets were one place and pads were another, and one of the football coaches had brought that concern.
Is it football? Is that the team that?
In particular,
Okay.
I was discussing
No,
it
I mean,
with
if
the
there's a
football.
concern out there at a particular individual or team, we definitely want to make that a priority then first.
It would also seem that they would have potentially more equipment than some sports, as for
Right,
example,
right,
soccer doesn't
exactly, which is
necessarily
why I
have
said,
a
that's
lot
why
of
I was
stuff.
asking you too, because of the word that I can't think, that thing that was just redone, that thing? The tower, like,
Oh, yeah. Press box.
if there was
yeah.
storage,
Yeah.
that could be,
Yeah. No, we'll definitely work with Jen and Bill to see what we can do to increase storage.
And we already have a couple organizational meetings between the coaches that have the most amount of equipment, track and field and football, to try to get those folks together to try to coordinate where they're storing things moving forward and work together.
because I know that they were able to get some new cool tackling stuff and things like that, and they were concerned that again, the life of them wouldn't last because of the same thing you were talking, the weather.
And not for nothing, but all the stuff that sits out there, when people come to other sporting games, their kids play on it. And I can't be the grouchy mom to yell at every kid. I can yell at my own kid, but I just can't bring myself to yell at other people's kids about it. But they're like flopping on it and like flicking it around, and it's like, okay.
Which is what we don't want, so I'll follow up with Bill again to see where they are with putting that equipment away.
And then I have one other question. The flag in the middle school gym, do we know if that was donated? Because I'm pretty positive it has 51 stars. I've counted them during numerous basketball games, and every time I've come up with 51 stars. So if it's a donation and someone made it, then I don't want to insult someone in their craftsmanship, but I'm like almost 100% positive there are 51 stars.
The middle school gym?
In the middle school gym, I've counted them like every single basketball
It's a
game I attended.
conspiracy.
Maybe.
Where do you put an extra?
If you look at it, you can tell there's one awkward row and one star that doesn't look like the others. So maybe someone wanted to add a state and they just thought it would be a great opportunity. Like, I don't know, but it drives me absolutely insane. And so I couldn't stay quiet about it any longer. Sorry.
It's the one with glue on the back. It's the one with glue on the back, or double-sided tape.
Yes. It's also differently shaped than all the others. It's like stretched out.
Maybe it was a senior prank and it took really long time to
It has. I've been holding this for a while, and I just remembered today.
You know someone's going to put an extra star on that flag now, right?
I mean, if it was a senior prank, it's hilariously funny, but it's gone on for a very long time.
And they enjoy it every time they go into that.
They're like, nobody's caught it yet.
They probably
no.
graduated in 1970.
But I didn't know if it was a donation, so I don't want to insult someone if it was donated. But it
1951.
has 51 stars.
That's what it is.
So, I have one question. Is there an update on appendix 3 and 4 for the safety plan? Did we get an update? Because I know they were going to redo them.
They provided us with one for 3 yesterday.
Okay, good.
And we won't be going out for public comment until, I think, the 26th or 7th of July. So I want them to provide 4 as well. He's talking about the appendix for the district-wide safety plan. And then I will share it with the health and safety team to look through it.
Okay.
See if it meets our criteria. The one for 4 is from 2024.
Okay.
It's part of like an 85-page document from Homeland Security or somebody, but there's a portion of it that they think that we can excerpt and it'll work.
Okay. Thank you.
Efforts have been made to make those more up to date. I did have a couple of things as well. I heard recently we have a full-time substitute position at Peter B, and I heard recently that we will be losing that position. So kind of someone who sort of functions as a sub, but is always there and is able to kind of move into classrooms for when they have a sub prior to them needing to call out a sub. And it has been very beneficial to Peter B, but from what I've heard, we are losing that position. Can you confirm what's going on there?
Sure.
So using the federal COVID money, many schools, RCS included, use that to hire daily subs, so someone who came in all the time. So when the COVID money ended, we did not ask to include that in the upcoming budget during the budget season, in part for a couple of different reasons. One, we are bringing our substitute service in-house. We're going to be using our own, am I allowed to say that now publicly? Does BOCES know?
Frontline.
Okay. So Frontline, we'll be using that as part of a platform that we use so that we haven't been able to get substitutes through the BOCES service. So we are going to recruit and have our own sub-service to be able to address that. And we are monitoring that quite closely because I know that it is helpful. It really is intended for, to continue to use sub-services to, teachers call in, but when you have several teachers who have to call in that morning and you have a shortage, having a body there is awesome. So we want to monitor that and see how things go because there's a tremendous cost involved in order to have that. That's above and beyond what we would have with just calling in daily subs because it does involve health insurance. So we want to monitor that piece and, communicate with the principals as far as how are things going and what do we have in order to cover that.
Okay, I would like to stay informed about that because I know that that sub has been kind of vital in Peter B. And, you know, having someone there who is just already there, especially when people call out, but also someone who really, you know, they're there all the time, so they can jump in whenever someone is needed. And they really know those classrooms, I think, a lot better than people who are subs who are getting called in. So I think it's gonna be a really big loss for us to be losing that
I wonder if it might be
position.
helpful for you to see just side by side what the cost, because those teachers were also hired at step one. So it wasn't, they weren't being paid the sub rate daily. They were being paid significantly more.
That would
in-
absolutely be helpful.
Okay.
Just to have more information on that. So is that the same case at A.W. Becker or the middle school or high school?
All of the schools had substitutes that were paid with COVID funds that are not, that do not have them again
So
next
all
year.
of the schools have
Yes.
lost a position like
Yep.
that?
I hesitate to say lost the position. It was something that we used in order to fill the gap based on the COVID relief funds, because we knew that there were going to be things that we needed to take care of. That happened to be one way that we spent those funds down, but it feels like a loss because it's something that we don't have, but it wasn't something that we had previous to the pandemic.
Sure, but that's been 4 years though, so that's still a loss. I mean, a
Really is.
4-year employee, that's still a
Had him
big
for a
hit.
ye- We've had him for a year and a half of it. We didn't have him for the 4 years, just because of, like, as the grants progressed through the time, our priorities changed and we adapted, recognizing that this was one of those areas. And guess what? We have money. We're blessed. We can spend $75,000 a human to have 4 of them or more in the district. But, Jean mentioned the one piece of it, which was to get our subs in-house rather than BOCES where we're competing with every school district. The idea is that we onboard people like they're our employees, and there's its own orientation. We just raised the rate for subs again. And we think, I gotta tell you, the fill rate from BOCES was 3 a day for 20 absences, 2, 4 maybe. It was abysmal. They have issues drawing people in because it's not the work that people go into. But our thought is we get people in and around our community. We onboard them so they are our people. We treat them well. We treat them as though they're part of our staff, and they'll be willing to come here. We get more than 4 subs a day, we will have conquered the world. I'm telling you that right now. So we're hoping that that combination of things helps out. We're gonna be advertising, like BOCES is the one that would advertise and onboard. Occasionally someone would come through the door, they'd say, hey, I wanna be a sub, we'd send them to BOCES, they'd register, and they see, oh, Mohannes, Niskayuna, Gilville, Bethlehem, Burn Hills, you know, and they see all the sub rates, and our sub rate's good. Our sub rate is quite good, it's higher than most, but we're a little bit isolated, right? So our hope is ours, we get them interested, and we get them to feel like they're part of our community. It'll be a win. If we get,
And you're doing some outreach. Are we doing outreach to the subs that have formerly worked here to make sure that they can be in the new?
coaching is all on board. The other thing is we're going to advertise too, just like we're advertising for any job. So people who might be, high school diploma or above. So we may have people in the community who've never thought of doing it, have worked with children before in other capacities, are interested in learning about how to do it.
Okay.
And we are going to evaluate. We're going to, by October, we'll know whether it collapsed on itself or it's done some good. Like I said, if we get to 4 to 6 subs a day, we're rocking it.
Sure. And then, this also kind of brings up another part of this. In the future, when we're discussing the budget things, would it be possible for us to know when we're losing positions because we have lost funding, so that we also know where these things are happening? Because, I wasn't aware until somebody in one of the schools brought it to my attention. But I think it would be helpful as the board when we're making these decisions. We didn't know that there's a position, I know you don't like the term lost, but there's a position we're losing in what we had last year to what we have this year. And I think it would be much more helpful for all of us to be more aware of those, because I know there was also, the situation with we were gaining 2 positions, but with the 2 positions that we kind of lost in the elementary schools, that wasn't made clear to us either, without us kind of being told from someone from one of the schools that we were losing a 4th grade classroom. Otherwise, those presentations did not make that clear. And I think that we need to know those kinds of things when we are making these budget decisions, because we might have felt differently to keep those positions. And I'm not saying that we would, but if we don't have all of the information, we can't make an informed decision. And that's our job. So I would appreciate moving forward that in budget hearings, if there are positions or things that we can no longer afford because of funding, whatever the case may be, that we are made aware of that, so that we can make an educated decision in our budgets.
I think, Jackie, I can almost with a surety say, last year, going into this year, is the last time that scenario should exist. We should be able to be
We
more
can't tell the
easily
future, though.
transparent.
We don't know what'll happen next year or the year after, or if another pandemic or what else happens. So, I mean, it's tough for anybody to say that this will be the only time that this happens. So I would just like to ask that in the future, if we are losing positions, that we are transparently informed of that.
No, I just meant, it's the last time we're gonna get $5 million extra dollars.
Again,
That's what-
we don't know what will happen in the future, so you can't say that.
Though, I was made aware of something that, you know, principals were asking for that weren't even brought. So how is that, how do you narrow down what has been asked for versus what's presented to us?
We started the budget presentation in November. So we go back and forth, we get all what the buildings need, we go back and forth, we bring it together, we have discussions. It's,
But we're not brought, because I started in November.
do you want to sit here and go through everything?
No.
that-
But like, is there,
We prioritize as a group. So we let's say everyone puts in November or December.
as an admin group?
Correct.
Okay.
And then we say, all right, the proposed budget is a 25% tax levy increase. What are we gonna do as a group?
Okay.
So it's not like.
So you're deciding as an admin group what is going to be brought? That was my question.
And if we're telling someone no, we're saying, this is why, because fourth grade, you know, we want to have an extra section, or we know that we want to have a reading teacher.
Okay.
I gotta say, it's hard because we want people to come with all their dreams and aspirations, and they absolutely do. And we shave around the edges. We work together to try and get to that point where we're like, okay, we can still deliver the program we feel confident in, knowing that we can't go out at 25%.
Okay.
Can we make requests if we are aware of something that
I
we
was
think
gonna
that
say the same thing. You
we're
read my mind.
lacking?
Absolutely.
Because
We
I'm
encourage it.
referencing the
Okay.
same situation she is, I'm most assured, and I would like to see what that cost would be. And I realize that not everyone may agree with it, and it may be voted down, but I would like the opportunity to see what that costs to determine how unrealistic or how realistic it potentially could be.
I think what would be helpful too is, so there's a starting point, which is all of the proposals that are offered to the administration, and that's trimmed down then. I think it would be helpful to know what was proposed as a priority by the buildings and what was trimmed from the final budget, just so we have a view of what the priorities are at the building levels, and we know what's been suggested, and we have an explanation for why it can't be in the budget this year, why there's other priorities. It's helpful to know what's in the budget.
It
but
is, and-
sometimes it's more helpful to know what was not able to be included in the budget that year that we should look at in future years.
But isn't there, can I speak freely?
Absolutely.
Just because, isn't there a point where you have to trust the administrative team that, hey, this is what we believe is best for the district? And where you guys got to trust in that kind of?
Yes,
I'm not
except,
gonna lie to you, Jesse. In all honesty, I struggle with the trust when things are not transparent and things in those budget presentations were not transparent about us losing elementary teachers.
I disagree,
And so
'cause
I
I-
struggle with the trust on that. It was shown on the chart where the positions would be. It was not clear that we were losing 2 instructional positions in that until a teacher brought it to my attention so that I asked the questions. And without that, I struggle to, honestly, trust is something that is built. And from those, I'm just saying, there was not the amount of transparency that I would have wanted to see to say that I would implicitly trust that. So I think it would be helpful to have all of the information.
I
don't
have
wanna
a
address
hard
this.
time with you saying that we're not transparent. I take transparency, especially with finance with this district, very seriously. So when you say we're not transparent, like. that
It was
hits home a
not
little bit.
transparent that those positions were being lost.
I don't think we should look at this in the lens of trust. I mean, absolutely, we have to trust the district administration. If there is not that trust, then we need to change district administration. So we need to have that baseline of trust. It's not an issue of trust, it's an issue of being informed of what the options are and which options weren't pursued in any given year.
Because like Jenny and I are referencing is specifically PM school and summer school at the middle school. And in no offense, I adore the admin at the middle school, but maybe they weren't, maybe in light of other things, they didn't feel in that admin group that theirs was enough of a priority. But looking at what we're dealing with the behaviors in the middle school, as a community, that is a priority. So yes, while we absolutely have to trust our admin to make those narrowed down decisions, there are some things that I think are issues in the community that we are the voices of those people and need a little more information sometimes. Yes, not down to the nitty-gritty of every detail, but the bigger items.
I encourage you guys saying, hey, PM school is a priority. Adding a permanent sub is a priority. If we know that's a priority for you guys, we will make sure that
But
that thing gets in there.
I think the trouble here, and the point goes back to, is that we're not made aware that that is something that is needed without being told that. So without the information, we don't have a way, unless we're just relying on hearing things from, random phone calls from people in the schools that I think we have all gotten. That's all that we can rely on if we're not being given that information directly from you.
And a lot of times, unfortunately, like we're saying now, after budget season's done, PM school is a priority to us, but, if we could have had that conversation, if and our building principals are the ones who are in the buildings each day, if we can at least see what they think is important at a high level,
No, those two things were not a part of the budget process for this year. They weren't part of the
Yes,
process.
it was a previous conversation. But those are things that I'm just saying, like, if those are things that have been brought up, even in the past, that when they're brought up, that board might have taken consideration and said, oh, that, would have been a thing. Now we're looking at it, but,
I feel that I did ask to have those things included in the budget presentation for next year. And if I didn't, then this is my formal request that those be some part of the presentation. And I recognize that they may not be realistic for us. We may not be able to move forward with those, but without the information,
What specifically are you asking for, just so we have clarity on what that request is?
I would like to see what the overall cost would be to run summer school and PM school at the middle school level. And I don't know exactly what that would look like, but I would like to know what the options would be.
That should be, Jesse, would that be relatively easy to do? Because we do that at the high school, right? We have an idea.
Yeah, I could definitely put an
of a
estimate
cost.
together for you. Absolutely.
I think on the budget season, you start in November, right, you said? And then, so when do building leaders submit their budget items, their plans, to you for consideration, before you start narrowing it down?
It's definitely not me. It's
Oh,
not
okay.
me. It's
Sorry.
their
But when do they get the
leadership.
information to you?
It depends, right? So I generally put out their budget request. It's a whole spreadsheet with different things,
Yeah.
FTEs and all that kind of stuff, in November, and try to get it back fully completed by December or January. But there's also several meetings in there where we go back and forth about, additional needs that come up and that kind of stuff.
So is there a way, and not even to get specific, because that would take you forever, but is there a way on the items that are narrowed down and left out to just put some type of even a bullet point of a spreadsheet in areas? For us that would be helpful, I think. And then if there's any areas of concerns, like we don't need you to spend hours and hours putting all this, but then if there's an area of concern there or something we would like to talk about, we would be able to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. If that's what the board would like me to do, then I'll absolutely do that.
Yeah,
To
but
go
not some-
along with that, though, I would like to see the target action plans. I'd like to see where we are progressively, and I know that we've done that this year. I'd like to see that again moving forward to determine if the need still exists for the things that we're requesting. That's not you, more the building leadership.
I don't So we're
Well, you
going to
guys have
follow
the
the same
target action.
process with the targets and action
Yeah.
plans for next year. We'll be doing that. I'm not sure of the connection to the budget.
Well, if their target is to decrease negative referrals and they're at 50% negative referrals, then that would substantiate a need for additional discipline measures.
Right.
So that would be the correlation I say.
So you, okay.
Well, since I don't know what the target action plans are for this year, it's kind of hard for
Right,
me to
yeah.
say if it would correlate directly to or not. But in the past, it referenced around positive and negative referrals or student discipline to some variation. So I would think some variation of that would give us information on whether behavior is running rampant and needs a lot more control,
Right.
supporting the need for more stringent programming or not.
Thank you for that reminder, because the final targets and action plans are up on the website.
They are?
Yes, they are.
So Jesse, based around the budget, do you guys break the budget down per building? So like if somebody had a question for the Peter B, you could say, here's Peter B. Do you guys do that now? Or is that too much to break it out building by
Well,
building?
that's exactly what we do.
Okay.
Yeah, so the district leader will meet with the district lead, the building leaders that he has or she has in their building and discuss their needs and wants for the following year. And then that district leader will bring it to us and say, hey, this is what we're thinking, this is what our needs are. And then we have a discussion.
So if somebody had a specific question or something, they could just go to that building and say,
Also, Dan, was it 5 years ago now, the comptroller, through transparency, all districts are required to be able to explain, this is Peter B. altogether, this is Beck altogether. So there's the reporting out too, which is clear, because that's how we have to account it for the state.
she's got valid points, but I wouldn't want to go through the high school and the middle school if I'm looking for Peter B. budget information.
Right.
Right, so.
Where are the target action plans?
Okay.
Sorry, I have one other
You can find it.
new
Yeah.
business item. I know both this year and last year, there were teacher reassignments of some more senior staff that got moved around. Not to discuss anything specifically, however, I do know, there were some teachers who had been unhappy with being reassigned. And I was wondering how we include teachers in their assignments, if they have preferences, particularly in relation to, seniority, people who have been here a long time. I mean, in my own field, seniority is one of the top priorities of how people would get, assigned specific positions or shifts or whatever the case may be. Do we have a process by which the teachers have any kind of say in where they may be assigned? Are they part of that conversation so that they can have input, particularly those who have, worked for our districts for a long time? I mean, having this happen, a few years in a row where concerns are raised about this is, that's concerning to me. And as employees, I think it's important, for them to have the morale, and in order to do so, having buy-in on where they are assigned, I think is huge. Do we have any process in place for how they are able to have any say in that, or where seniority is given any weight to where someone may be assigned?
We follow the teacher's contract, and what we do is when there's a retiree position, we post those positions internally if someone's interested in moving to them. If there's not a retirement position and we post a position, people are welcome to apply. Like if someone's at second grade and they want to go to sixth grade, they're welcome to apply, or send a note to their principal and say, I'm interested in doing that. But beyond that, seniority is not a consideration within the contract. It's possible a fourth grade teacher moves to second or a third or first.
Sure, and operational need, obviously, it takes precedence over anything else. However, when there are, multiple positions where someone may be able to be assigned, I think that it is helpful to consider seniority in that. So I think that may be something that we want to consider in the future contract negotiations, if that's where that conversation has to be had. But, that I will fight to the end for employee morale. And I think that that's huge, having some level of say in where you are working. to the extent that we're able, again, operational need is the very first priority. Obviously, we have to be able to run the district properly. But I think it's important for employees to have some kind of say in where that they'll be working, because that has a huge impact on employee morale. And not just that one employee's morale, every employee's morale. Because if one employee sees that someone else can be reassigned or put into a place that they don't want to be working, then every single other employee is going to think, when is that going to happen to me? And that's problematic. So if that's not a conversation for today, that's fine, but I think that that's an important thing for us to be taking into consideration.
Okay. About to do that. Looking at the old business items, I've been sitting here looking at them with an eye towards, is there anything that we should talk about tonight that we haven't? But more importantly, are there any items on here that, this is quite a long list now, and some of these might be resolved. So like, for example, the workplace climate survey. I know that Dr. Bailey had sent out the results of that climate survey. Is there anything hanging on that requires us to keep this on old business? Okay, we can remove that. TCIS, are there any open issues with regard to TCIS training that we need to be tracking as old business?
As long as the people who are in the roles that need it are receiving it, I'm okay removing it. Do we know that they are? I mean, we referenced individuals who are in the classroom that need it, and is that being completed over the summer, or did it?
The training already happened. We did it the last week in June. And I shared at the CNI meeting the plan for folks who are onboarded after the fact, including the intensive training, so that we can have something that is sort of an interim for folks who don't participate in the full certification training. So we have a plan for that training to happen in the beginning of September, and then onboarding as people come on board.
Okay.
We have an open ICM teacher position at Peter B.
I don't have the list of who's teaching what right in front of me, so I can't speak
But
to
any
that.
new hires, you're saying they will, I'm just confused at the last thing you said.
So-
Any new hires, they will be trained in September?
Right, but
Okay.
they won't have access to the full TCIS certification training. Instead, based on that plan that I had put out, we have a de-escalation strategies general, and then a de-escalation strategies intensive. So one that's an hour long, one that's 4 hours long. So we want to make sure that any new
So
staff.
that new teacher won't be,
Yeah, but at the same time.
but there's a lot more that
Yes.
are trained now.
There are,
Okay.
we had 12
There were
folks go
a
through.
lot, yeah.
And we are sending another staff member to be a certified trainer this summer, so we'll have another trainer.
Is the individual that took over the role of the coach for the special ed TCI trained? Okay.
She's going for the training, to be the certified trainer.
Okay, great. That seems perfect.
That was part of the job description.
Okay, great.
Okay, so we're satisfied with the status of that? You can remove
am.
that item? Okay, so TCIS training will come off, workplace climate survey will come off. Middle school discipline plan. I know that a follow-up presentation will be made in the fall, I think is where we left it.
You said October, so if you wanted to leave it on there, and we'll put the October date.
Okay, we'll track that. Just as will happen at the October meeting.
October 16.
Field trip budgets. What's open with respect to field trip budgets?
You can remove it.
Okay. Damage to Chromebooks.
Those the field trip budgets, I mean, the field trips have been reduced significantly across the district from last generation to this generation. And it has to do with budgets, understood. But is there anything that can be done to at least get something back into these kids so they got something to look forward to? When educationally, they're getting something out of the field trips. They are. But
I'll provide you with a list of field trips that happened this year.
This past year?
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
It's,
I've had a couple people talk to me about that, so,
it is promising. It's-
good, thank you.
We did increase the budget year over year in every line for field trips.
For field trips this year? Boom, thank you. Okay, Mike, you can
Remove
take it
that
off.
item. Damage to Chromebooks?
I haven't heard any further from,
I spoke to Bill about it, so if there's any issues in a particular building, he's working with the building principal to better resolve, whatever might have been happening there, but,
okay.
Is the replacement every 5 years?
yeah.
Yeah.
The Chromebooks they're built-in obsolescence. They are no longer supported by Google after 5 years.
Right.
I thought Google just last year, though, they just extended them.
They may have.
Yeah, they extended it, I think, so some of them will last longer.
That's good.
Bill could check on
Okay,
that.
so let's remove that item. HVAC will stay on there, keep tracking that. Continuation of the special education report, is that with respect to the consultant's report?
No, that was for, Colleen and Kate did a presentation at the Board of Ed CNI meeting to talk about the elementary continuum. So I have it on my plan, we don't have dates yet, but to do that again, early fall CNI meeting, to do that.
For the middle
summary.
school,
Yeah,
high
and
school
then
as well, right?
Yeah, and anybody, I'll make sure that that is public so people know they want to join us for that meeting. It is super thorough.
No, they did an excellent job. It was much, very appreciated and helpful.
So if you want to wait to take it off until the fall when we have that
Yeah,
meeting.
can we just note in there that there'll be a follow-up in September? And then the pay rate for TA subs, does that remain an open issue?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'd like to remain open, yeah, until
I
we.
think last meeting, what we said we're gonna do is, well, when we have a next policy meeting, we're just gonna go back to there.
Oh, yes, yes.
We'll look at it in policy. So if you wanna leave it on here, you can. If you wanna take it off and just note next to it, it'll be addressed in policy, we can do that too.
Okay.
However you wanna handle it.
Great,
This plan.
thank you.
Okay, anything else on old business or anybody? All right. Hearings and petitions, Sue, we don't have any hearing petition forms. If anybody came here tonight to make public comment, now's the time, you're welcome to do so. Okay. At this time then, I'm going to ask for a motion to enter into executive session to discuss matters leading to the dismissal of a particular person. Jenny, second? Mike, all in favor? Aye.
You don't intend to have any trouble?
We'll be taking no further action when we come out of executive session. So that's it for the public portion tonight. Thanks for coming.